So Tiffany Meek at 6:15 a.m. on an ice-cold morning sent her son Jayden Meek out of Unit 13, where they were living at the time, to go and wait for school transport. Keep in mind that there was no mention that he wore a jacket that morning that couldn't have been warmer than 10 degrees Celsius. She didn't fail to mention the school bag, so I think it's safe to assume that she mentioned everything he had on and with him. And I want you to put a pin in the following. Jayden's school jacket was found inside Unit 13 during the police search. Specifically, the investigating officer, Sergeant Deco, testified that a red school jacket with the Royal College logo was found hanging on a rack inside the wardrobe. The state presented evidence that the jacket, along with school shoes, was photographed inside the flat on May 14, 2025, the same morning the child's body was discovered. That makes sense, doesn't it? That's if you take Tiffany's word for it, because Jayden didn't wear his jacket to school that day. Neither did he wear his school shoes. He wore black tackies. But if he had school shoes, why would he wear his tackies to school? And listen to this. Tiffany Meek claimed in her affidavit that neither Jayden's school bag nor his school uniform was inside the flat on May 14th. So here we have her talking about his uniform and his bag. Firstly, what is the uniform according to her? The one described by the teacher or the one she described? But in that specific statement, there were no mention on school shoes or black tackies. So her focus wasn't on that. Her focus was on the bag and the jacket. But I personally think the shoes have a bigger story to tell. And you will understand why I say that a little bit later in this video. So Tiffany's focus was at that stage on the uniform and the bag. Why? Well, in my mind, it's because it was mentioned by the prosecution. In my mind, her focus wasn't on some evidence that might lead to what happened to Jayden. At that stage, her focus was on proving her innocence. So much so that she kind of contradicted herself. Firstly, let's focus on the jacket for a while. Tiffany argued that while a red jacket was photographed, it was a spare, and that Jayden had not worn a jacket to school on the day he was missing. So, if this was a spare and he didn't wear a jacket to school, isn't there then supposed to be two jackets? But wait, there's more. Tiffany Meek also claimed in her affidavit that neither Jayden's school bag nor his school uniform was inside the flat on the 14th of May. She suggested that such items were planted between the 14th and the 16th of May. So now it's a bit much for my brain to keep track of. If we take Tiffany's word for it, Jayden didn't wear his jacket to school and he also had a spare jacket. In my mind then we have two jackets supposed to be in the unit at the 14th. But Tiffany also said that the school uniform was not in the unit and was planted between the 14th and the 16th. So, in my mind, and please correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section if I interpret it wrong, there's supposed to be two jackets and neither of them were supposed to be in the unit because it must have been planted by, let's say, just someone. But she also acknowledged that the one photographed was a spare one, and that's why I say she contradicted herself a little bit. Again, that's in my mind. So let's continue. Tiffany Meek firstly formally claimed she was being framed in court during her bail application hearing on July 21, 2025. On this date, her attorney read an affidavit into record where she explicitly stated that when police informed her on May 16, 2025 of the discovery of a school bag and uniform, and I quote, "The entire case took a turn and I started to get framed for Jayden's murder," end quote. But on July 29, 2025, that's just 8 days after that, the court's formal judgment on the bail application explicitly lists the claim as one of the ambiguous statements or factors presented by the defense, noting that, and I quote, Applicant instructs that the red school jacket as seen in the photo was a spare school uniform jacket. So firstly, she said that if, and I'm going to use my own words here, if a jacket was found and photographed in her flat, it was planted between the 14th and the 16th. But then she changed the story to saying that it was a spare jacket. And I'm not saying that this is indeed what happened. This is only how I understand it. But here is what I really don't understand. Why would a jacket needed to be planted if Jayden never wore a jacket to school that day? And we will get more information on this as the trial goes on, but I would think that she was confronted by a timestamp on the photos that she didn't think there was, or she didn't even think of it. What do you think? What other reason can there be that she would change her story? But why in the first place did she have to say that the jacket was planted if he didn't wear his jacket to school that day? And then again, if he didn't wear his jacket to school and that was a spare, where is the other one? And now it feels like I've been running around in circles. But I don't want to stop with the jacket yet. According to Jayden's school teacher, he had a jacket on. And I would think that the teacher would notice something like that. Again, it was a cool day, and the teacher would immediately spot a child without a jacket in a room full of children that had jackets on. That's just the picture I have in my mind. According to the formal statement provided by Jayden Lee's grade 6 class teacher, the child was wearing a red tracksuit when she saw him in class at 7:20 a.m., the morning of the day that he went missing. During legal proceedings, it was noted that a tracksuit typically consists of a jacket and long pants. According to the formal statement of the day shift security guard, Alex, he saw Jayden Lee being dropped off at approximately 4 o'clock on May 13th, 2025, wearing the following: a red jacket with the Royal College logo, a black shirt and black shorts. The guard noted that he did not see or notice what shoes the child was wearing at the time. So without the guard and the teacher knowing what the other said, the one thing they kind of agree on was that Jayden was wearing a jacket. I know, I'm going on about this one or more jacket. But isn't that what critical thinking is? Dissecting every corner of this investigation. So let's explore a little bit more. Let's again go with Tiffany's account of what Jayden wore that morning. Would it be that strange for a child to shove his or her jacket in their school bag and not take it out when they get home that afternoon, just to wear that very same jacket the following morning, only after taking it out of their bag that very same morning? So it could be that Jayden left the unit that morning without wearing his jacket, only to take it out of his bag a little bit later, after his body cooled off after the morning rush, waiting for transport, or even after arriving at school and putting his jacket on there. So it can be true that he left the unit without a jacket and arriving at school with one. I think we can all agree on that one. So I went to the school gallery to see what the school clothing actually looked like. I saw the red tracksuit jacket with the school logo on it. I would call it a dry mac in my own words. That was red, no other colors, with just the school logo on the chest. I also saw the navy golf shirt with the school logo on it. I also found the tracksuit top, the red and white one with the blue stripe. I also found the tracksuit pants the teacher was talking about. So now my mind is going in a few directions. See the back of the tracksuit top the teacher is talking about. If that's the same tracksuit top I have in mind, is completely red at the back. White and blue is only at the front. So the account of the security guard could have been true if he only registered that he saw Jayden walking away from him. In other words, with his back to the security. Then the security would have seen only a red jacket. And that then is exactly the same account as the one of the teachers. The fact that there was a red jacket in the wardrobe was because it was in fact an extra jacket. And if it's said to be red, I would assume that it's that Drymax style jacket that I'm thinking of. And it makes sense that he had two jackets. And this does not at all on this finding alone suggest that Jayden returned home after school. I would really like to know what jacket was photographed in that apartment on that day. You probably had enough of this jacket, and I will get to my point. Please just bear with me. So, according to the teacher, Jayden had on his navy golf shirt. Could it be that the security had mistaken navy for black? This actually happens more often than not. But then we have the black pants. And there it could be very likely that if we do not go on Tiffany's account anymore, but with the teacher's account, that Jayden could have wore black shorts underneath his tracksuit trousers that day. Knowing that it might get warm during the day and that he took the tracksuit pants off, shoved it in his school bag. And here again, navy shorts, which seemed to be part of the school clothing, might have been seen as black if that was the case with a golf shirt. With that said, did Jayden do any sports? And if he did, was there any sports on that day that he participated in? Then the scenario would make a lot of sense. The other reason why I think that it would make sense for him to have worn his own casual pants underneath his school trousers is that during me looking at videos and photos of the school, I found that it is so common for the kids in that school to wear the school golf shirt and sometimes the school jacket with their own casual long or short pants. So for the culture of that specific school, it is a completely normal thing to do. So what we have now is two accounts of what he wore that day that is more or less the same. The other account is completely different. Then I go back to, what did the transport driver say? And the other kids on the vehicle? I mean, one of the kids was questioned that very afternoon. Surely if the question was asked, that child would have remembered. And if Jayden was wearing his tracksuit, it would make a lot of sense that his school shoes was still in the complex and not his tackies. And this, in my mind, is why the shoes matter so much. So when the trials start, I want to know exactly what school clothing of Jayden was found in the unit. Compare that to all the types of school clothing he had. And then, what is missing? No one is mentioning the tackies he had on. Only the shoes that was recorded in the unit. The investigating team is relying so much on the one red jacket that was recorded in the unit. But what about the second one? Where is that? And that is why it is so important that everything gets recorded via video or pictures right away, even if someone is not a suspect. We always need something to go back to. And for an investigating team, not to be biased when investigating a person, the team must be open to explore all avenues. Have you ever thought of a scenario where Tiffany accidentally misled the investigating team with her account of what Jayden was wearing that morning, and now she can't go back on her word, or she might just look like an untrustworthy person? What if Tiffany at that moment wasn't sure of what Jayden was wearing that morning, and she described the clothes that he normally wore or what she assumed he was wearing? If your child has more than one type of school uniform and are allowed to mix and match as they please, and that very child is independent, meaning that you don't have to put much thought in what he or she is wearing every morning, can it be that you are not 100% sure of what your child is wearing each and every morning? Just a thought. But it could also be intentional misleading. If there was no mention of a tracksuit and only the uniform as described by Tiffany, no one would ever know about the tracksuit, meaning no one would ever search for the tracksuit. I'm definitely not saying that Tiffany is lying under oath, but if she is, she won't be the first. One wrong turn at the start of an investigation, no matter how small, or if it is intentional or not, might lead you down the wrong path. And this is the reason why we should listen to all accounts, but not blindly follow one or the other, but look at the evidence, and I mean really look at the evidence, and follow that path. Does the shoes hold a key? Does the jacket? What other school clothes did the officers find while searching in the unit? And most important of all, what didn't they find? And that's it for this episode. If you made it till the end, thank you so much and well done. This was really a crazy roller coaster episode. That's my feeling about it anyway. What do you think? Does any of what I said make you think a little bit more about the different accounts of what Jayden wore on that specific day? Are you also wondering why Tiffany changed the story a little bit? And if the initial search was done thoroughly enough and documented in the proper way for them to go back on it? If any of what I said made you wonder about something, please put it in the comment section down below. If you found this video to be interesting, hit the like button. And if you want to continue with me on the journey that I'm on, hit the subscribe button. It's completely free. Make sure the notification bell is on. That way you never miss an episode. Until next time, bye.